And welcome back into the Miller's Edge on our YouTube channel. It's me, Christian Miller. I know it's been a while since we've been on here, but we've had so many requests for us to hop back on and make content on our YouTube channel. So here we are. We want to give a breakdown. We've got a big week this week. Alabama facing Georgia, 6:30 kickoff. College game day will be there. Everybody will be there. No better week to start things back up on our YouTube channel than this week. So I wanted to come give my early analysis of this Alabama-Georgia game, give some of my keys, my thoughts on this matchup. I want to do another video and go a little bit more in depth, but wanted to start here with just kind of a little early initial analysis. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. That always helps us out right here on our YouTube channel. If you love it, you can always hear more on our radio show, right? The Miller's Edge. We do that weekdays, Monday through Friday, 12 to 2 Central Time on Tide 100.9. You can download the app and listen wherever you are, nationally, globally, anywhere you can listen to. It's free to download that app, or you can go to the website, tide100.9.com. and listen to us there again, 12 to 2 Central Time. We do this every single weekday, give our breakdowns, analysis, really good stuff. So make sure you check us out there. But we definitely want to be more consistent here. So let's start here with this Alabama-Georgia football preview. Kicking things off with one of my first keys for this ball game is winning the battle of the trenches. We always talk about the importance of winning the game up front with the trenches. This game is going to be important, right? Whenever you got two heavyweight matchups, it's always going to be one of the biggest factors in a football game. But specifically, when I look at Alabama and their ability to win up front, this is why I think it's going to be important. If you look back just 2 weeks ago when Alabama faced Wisconsin, one thing that really stood out to me was the ability to keep Jaylen Melrose clean. That offensive line and their performance was critical in Jaylen Melrose's performance. If you ask me, I thought that was Jaylen Melrose, one of his best games that he's played in a Crimson Tide uniform. He was consistent. He was accurate. He was hitting all those throws. He had several NFL type throws in that football game. A lot of it, in my opinion, was him being able to have time, stay clean, and deliver those throws. So the offensive line is going to be crucial in this football game, especially when it comes to protecting him. If you look at how Jaylen Melrose is able to perform when he's facing pressure. If you go back to the USF game, he faced pressure about 38% of his dropbacks, and you saw his consistency and accuracy then, right? Which any quarterback is like that. When he was able to be kept clean against Wisconsin, you saw the type of throws he was able to make and how effective he was through the air. So that's going to be critical. But obviously, when we talk about the trenches, the other factor in that is the run game. Alabama's got to establish that run game. They got to be able to do what Kentucky was able to do. If you watch that Georgia-Kentucky game, you saw Kentucky was able to run the ball consistently, right? They ran the ball at will. That's demoralizing for a defense, especially a defense like Georgia, who has pride in how physical they are, right? Especially in stopping the run. Kentucky exposed some things there. And I know Georgia had a few guys out with injury, but that's going to be something that Alabama needs to look at in this football game. Those offensive linemen got to get push up front, rely on those backs that you have. J.M. Miller, who's been phenomenal, Justice Haynes, very talented. And then you add Jaylen Melrose in the equation with his ability to run the football. We saw how, through 3 games, this offensive staff really likes to utilize his capabilities there, which is so smart of them. Wish we had more of that last year. That needs to be a factor in this football game as well. The next phase of that is if Georgia decides to stack the box and sell out against the run, you got to be able to connect when you have those abilities to throw the ball through the air, right? Whether it's the deep shots, we've seen how explosive this Alabama offense can be. We see how explosive a guy like Ryan Williams can be. They've got to connect when those opportunities present themselves, especially if Georgia decides to stack the box and say, hey, Melrose, we're going to force you to beat us through the air. You've got to be able to connect. You've got to have that offensive line be able to take on that pressure and protect well. You got to be able to run the ball when you get those opportunities. But ultimately, when Georgia stacks that box and you have those opportunities to throw the football, those receivers got to get separation. They got to run the right routes, and Jaylen Melrose has to connect. That will be important. The next thing I'm looking at in this football game is a turnover battle. I feel really good about this. If you look at Alabama offensively, through 3 games, they've done a nice job protecting the football. Couple fumbles in that USF game. That was a sloppy game. We'll chalk that up for what it was. But if you look at Jaylen Melrose, his ability to keep the ball out of the defense's hands when he's dropping back to pass has been great. No interceptions this year. That needs to be consistent in this football game. But also, you look at the defensive side of things, you've got to be consistent at forcing turnovers. And that's what this defense has done. They've exemplified that with this new swarm defense. They're aggressive. They're ball hawks. We saw just the week before last when they played Wisconsin. They were able to force 4 fumbles. They recovered 2 of them, right? You have Malachi Moore popping the ball out, Deontay Lawson stripping the ball out, 2 strip sacks with Q Robinson and LT Overton. That needs to come alive in this football game. You got to win that turnover battle because it always matters in these big matchups. Now let's move on to the defensive side of the football. Defense has got to be disciplined. UGA likes to have a lot of window dressing pre-snap. They're going to be doing a lot of movements. The good thing is our offense does that, and that means our defense should be well prepared for that. But as a defender, you've got to be prepared with your eye discipline. You got to be prepared to do your job, right? When they're going play action, you got to understand as soon as you realize this pass, you got to get to your coverage. You got to get to your integrity, right? A couple of times, some of the guys getting beat on the back end. Some of those were because of that eye discipline, right? Some of it could have been them a little bit out of position, but at the end of the day, you got to be prepared for what UGA is going to throw at you. They're going to try to run the football, but they really love the play action pass. Ultimately, Alabama, I think, has been solid defensively. One thing that probably needs to be improved is the run defense needs to be more consistent. I wouldn't be shocked if UGA tests that, right? I think they're really going to try to establish their run game, and they're going to try to attack our guys in the back end and see how they handle that. The guys up front have done a nice job. The biggest thing for me where some of those inconsistencies come from is two things: run fits, and you got to clean up your tackling. And we can do that in this football game. We should have a lot more success in that area, which I think is going to be crucial for our defense in this ball game. But last but not least, it's going to be about finish and how you respond when things don't go your way, right? You've got two really good teams facing each other. You know what they're capable of. They've got good players. They're going to make plays. We're going to make plays. We've got great players. But how do you respond when you get hit in the mouth, right? It's a heavyweight matchup. That's going to happen. You got to respond the right way. You've got to have that next play mentality. You can't go get down in the dumps. You got to play the next play, and you've got to finish. The USF game wasn't pretty, but one good thing that I took away from that game was we found a way to finish. In that fourth quarter, we finally played the way we should have been playing. We scored several touchdowns. We shut them down on defense, and we played Alabama football and finished that football game. You've got to have that same mindset and mentality in this football game because it's going to be close. There's going to be shots that are traded, but who can find a way to finish? That's going to be important in this ball game. And real quick to wrap things up, just want to throw some numbers at you. Alabama is coming in offensively, averaging 49 points per game and 466.7 total yards per game, compared to Georgia's 31.7 points per game and 402.3 total yards per game. Looking at the defenses of these two teams, Alabama averages 8.7 points per game allowed and 248 yards per game allowed versus Georgia's 6 points per game allowed and 202 yards per game allowed. Those are some numbers for you if you like that stuff. With that said, that's going to do it for me in my first initial analysis of this matchup. Alabama taking on Georgia. College game day this Saturday, 6:30 p.m. But ultimately, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to step up big in this ball game? What do you think needs to be done for Alabama to win this football game? Let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. It always helps us out. If you guys want to hear more, you can always tune into our radio show again, The Miller's Edge, Title 100.9, Monday through Friday, 12 to 2 p.m. Central Time. Appreciate you guys. Glad to be back with you. Roll Tide.